Welcome to Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here is the podcast host, James Delingpole.
Welcome to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole. Dick, it's so good to have you back because it's been rather a long time, hasn't it?
Well, we were getting into a regular sort of every 10th podcast type arrangement, and we were able to do a rundown of the last 10 guests and do a recap, and it was kind of like a taking stock episode, but we've now gone way beyond the 10 because I've been writing them down, and
Have you been writing them down bitterly?
Not bitterly, no.
Sadly? Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Can I just say about your tea?
Yeah?
It's like the tea you've just given me.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of tea that one used to get in English cafes in the 1970s.
So it was quite a nice nostalgia trip.
No, well, I was kind of meaning that it wasn't very good tea. It was weak. It was made not with love.
You know when you have to do something and you know there's certain things you mustn't do, and one of them is make you weak tea, make you tea with bags, all of these things.
Yeah.
And
you
I
did
panicked, and I ended up doing them.
Do you actually? That's interesting. Do you panic when I come? Am I frightening?
Yeah.
Because can I tell you something?
What's that?
We in my household panic. We get Dick panic. In fact, before I left. The fawn hurried me along saying, "You've got to eat lunch quickly. Get out of that. I'm going to make you get out of the house because if you don't leave the house soon, you will be late for Dick and Dick will be cross."
Yes, well, she's quite right. You were late.
Yeah, I was. Do you know why I was late?
Why were you late?
I was driving. I mean, this isn't the only reason, obviously. The main reason is I set off late. But
that's never a good start.
But the reason that I was going to give you, should you complain, was, and this actually happened. I was driving along the road, really not very far out on the journey, and ahead of me was a tractor pulling a long trailer, and he suddenly stopped, and he turned right, blocking the road because his trailer was on my side of the road and the tractor was like bent across the carriageway. And I sat there waiting, and then the tractor driver appeared and he waved at me and I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Can't find the key.
What?
The key to the gate." Oh. And so he'd blocked the whole road. And so I waited and anyway.
I do try to be patient with things like tractors because we're kind of country folk ourselves.
We are very.
And you see a tractor, you're stuck behind it, and you've just got to tell yourself, look, well, if you want food to be made in this country, you've got to put up with this shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now I'm a proper country person.
But you can still get angry with idiots losing their keys. I don't think that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. And also, you can actually. I've been living in the country now long enough to say things like, "Townies," and these townies just don't understand our country ways, and mean it. Not even ironically, because they bloody don't understand our country ways.
You have changed since you've moved out of London.
Have I?
mean, just for our dear listener, we both used to live in London. We used to live.
How have I changed?
You are slightly more chilled.
I wear tweed
You
jackets.
wear tweed more convincingly.
Yeah.
And you have more sort of laid-back country ways. The first thing that wound me up about moving out of London to the countryside was the fact that people operating tills in shops talk to people. They talk to the customers, and you have to wait while they talk to the customer.
Oh, the person in front of you.
The person in front of you. Now I find that completely charming because quite often I'm the person they're chatting with, and you pass the time of day. It really is a lovely thing. But when I moved out of London, I thought, this is ridiculous. I've got things to do. I've got places to go. But, it's about the pace of life and it just sort of, it's more tolerant.
The other thing is that Londoners, you notice, when you get... One of the reasons that I don't like staying... When people say to you, "Oh, do stay the night at my house, we've got plenty of room." And what happens is that the next morning you have to wake up at about dawn because they're doing, even if it's the weekend, because they're doing loads of London stuff because they're so busy with their London thing. And you have to fit in with that.
But again, you don't notice it until you move out and look from the countryside. Do you know how much a house on the road that I used to live in Hackney? You know, my humble little...
Yeah, I'm guessing... Dick, if you do this kind of thing, it's a bit like saying, "Why didn't I buy Bitcoin?"
I don't regret it. I don't regret it once. But just out of interest, The house that I bought for, I think it was
£5.
I bought it for 80k.
Yeah.
In 96.
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah.
They're on for $1 million.
So you'd
now.
be worth $1 million.
Well, but you're not worth $1 million, though, are you? It's your house.
Yeah, but then you sell it.
And then move to the countryside.
Yeah, and move to the countryside. So you would.
Yeah, well, I should have left it a few more years.
Do you
But
know
my
what-
kids would be feral by now.
Do you know what I'd do
What's
if I
that?
were in your position?
What?
I'd top myself. Yeah, I would. It will all be over.
Like the poor chap who lost his bitcoins.
Yeah, I know. There are many.
I
such
listened
stories.
to that the other
Did
day.
you?
That was particularly horrible.
Wasn't it just sod's law that the special cryptocurrency edition should have been recorded like 3 days before the latest massive Bitcoin crash?
Well, I
which
thought
made
it
us
was
look
very
really-
well timed.
Oh, good. Oh.
Because as Dominic said, it's the only comment you'll ever hear made on the news is, "Oh yes, Bitcoin is a bubble."
Yeah.
But they did
By
have someone
no
on radio
coiners.
for today who said, "So is Bitcoin a bubble?" And he said, "Well, if it's a bubble, it's popped many times and it reinflated every time."
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
We obviously we can't talk about cryptos all the time because we'll look like the sort of crypto obsessives or
Yeah.
crypto communists. Do you get that? No, not really. So, what have we got planned in your special book day?
Okay, so we've got the rundown, the going through of your previous guest, which
Oh,
is
yes.
always a useful thing. I wanted to talk about the Twitter purge, which was very much the subject when I was writing the notes on
Yes.
this. Now, whether or not that's happened is debatable. I had tanks down here. I've been getting more obsessed rather than less obsessed with
Yes.
tanks of late. I wanted to talk about clothes. We touched on that with your tweed.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to talk about what you wear when you're on TV, because you've done a fair bit of TV lately.
I know.
And
I don't like it.
I always look and think, oh God, why is he wearing that? Or why doesn't he comb his hair? That sort of thing. As
you
if
like-
I'm your
like-
mother.
like mother, yeah.
Like mother, yeah. There's a game I've invented called Meghan Merkel, Angela Markle. We could play that
We
game.
could play that. Oh, and I suppose, are we going to play the yes/no game?
We've got I've got it tabbed here. Yes, but even those names are a little bit out of date.
I like
but,
I like the fact that we're not exactly the same. That you've got this weird mind where you've got the organised gene.
And yet,
does that happen?
You've seen my study, for want of a better word,
Yes.
is complete pigsty.
Your
I
man
live
den.
but it's not tidy like my mind. It's odd, but anyway, that's not particularly of interest to our dear listener. So, which one do you want to do? Do you want to do clothes, tanks, Twitter purge, review, or Markle Merkel?
Let's do Markle Merkel. What
Are
is
you
that?
intrigued by this?
I am intrigued.
I
by it.
should probably have
Markle
run this
Merkel.
by you before
No,
I
I
came
think
up with
keep
it.
it fresh, keep it
Okay,
real.
so you've got to, let me try and put this as delicately as possible, go on a date with either Meghan Merkel or Angela Markle. Okay, one has the head of Angela Merkel on Meghan Markle's body. The other one has Meghan Markle's head on Angela Merkel's body.
Oh,
Right.
Yes.
So that's your dilemma.
yes. It's like Bob Fock, isn't it?
What's Bob?
You don't know Bob Fock? Body off Baywatch, face off Crime Watch.
Oh, right.
I mean, that'll
Okay,
that'll
so I've
sail
just
over the head of
reinvented
our
the wheel.
American
Of course
listener
it- yes.
because they don't get Crime Watch, but they do get Baywatch.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, they can suss it out.
I think they
Yeah,
can work it out. I
it's-
think Crime Watch would be like America's Most Wanted.
Can I just say that actually, I really wouldn't care. Not because I'm discriminatory and I think that I don't judge women on their looks or their bodies. Rather, it's that I just imagine they would both be the most massive pain in the arse as soon as they open their mouths.
Yeah.
I mean, Angela Merkel she's basically a communist who went
Mookie.
even more wrong.
Yeah.
And Meghan Markle is a
SJW actress.
SJW actress.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone talks about. Everyone's being polite about this Meghan Merkel thing, about how yes, it's introducing a new strain of
Fresh blood to the royal family.
blood into the royal family, and that she comes from outside royal circles, and she's part American, or is she American or Canadian? I forget.
American,
I don't really care
No,
either.
I don't care.
And that she's half black, and that therefore that this is something really
special
something
and unusual.
special and really exciting. And you think, no, what the only thing that really matters about Meghan Markle
You see, you've already got it.
The only thing that matters is that she's a really annoying SJW. Everything else is...
Someone tweeted something interesting today, saying that Harry just had to get her up the aisle and up the duff. And
you're about to something else then?
No, I realised.
You could have had the podcast. You could have gone into tremendous trouble there, but luckily you didn't. And I didn't. And luckily I didn't draw attention to it.
No, of course.
Professionally, I completely ignored it. Yeah, sorry. Taking
her up the aisle. No, getting her up the aisle.
Right.
James.
Yes.
And getting her up the duff, and then she's one of the royal family, and
then she'll divorce him.
No, not a divorce
and
thing,
take
but
him
it's
for all he's got.
She will become assimilated, like the Borg. You know, I don't think the royal family are going to suddenly fall for the SJW.
Yes, they
stuff.
are. You look at the crap that William and Harry are already pulling. This stuff about how, oh yes, we too had mental health problems.
Their emotional suffering.
Oh yes, mental illness affects everyone. And no, look, shut up. Just get on with being royal.
You'd think Grandpa could give him a slap, couldn't you?
You would have thought.
I mean, Phil is just the boss. If only he and our dear Queen could just be with us forever, because they rock.
I would say that they should have gone to Gordonston rather than Eton. Except that I've seen what that tactic did to Charles, and it didn't do much. Did it? I've seen the episode of The Crown, so I know.
Effectively history.
Yeah, made up history. But it ruined Charles. Charles was a sort of proto SJW.
We didn't have
His
a very
sons
nice
are
time.
even.
He hated it, didn't he, Gordonston?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
You're not supposed to particularly like public school, but it's meant to be good for you.
It made men of us, didn't it?
I don't know how soft we would have been without it, but I'm pretty sure it toughened us up.
Do you think it did? Do you think you don't think if we'd gone to a rough state school and we'd had to fight for our survival every day, that might too have had a toughening effect?
Yeah, but in a different way.
In different ways. Yeah, exactly. Because we're the kind of tough that if we went to Colditz, obviously to get into Colditz, you'd have to have escaped from other prison camps.
Yeah.
Number one. And we'd have escaped multiple times. We'd have kept our spirits up. The only thing I wouldn't have liked about being in a POW camp, something that would really piss me off, is when they take the boards on your bed away.
No, that would have been a little bit harsh.
As slats to put in the tunnel.
Yeah.
How annoying is that?
To build a bloody glider or something.
How annoying?
Like
Because my back gets bad enough as it is without having no slats.
I can see you pitching this to the escape committee.
I bloody would. I would.
Could I just be excluded from the slat removal?
Yes.
Because my back's been really playing up lately.
I would jolly well tell them.
I don't mind going to the back of the queue for escape. In fact, I don't mind if you leave me out of this mission.
No, I wouldn't have said. I would have said actually I want to be at the front. If you're going to take my slats, I want to be the front. And actually, thinking about it, that would have been the best time because you know what happens. The first ones get across,
attracts attention to the others. They're the ones who get gunned down.
And they get machine gunned in the forest.
Yeah.
So there we are.
So, Colditz would have been good.
Yeah.
They do say public school boys adapt well to two things, the army and prison.
And being buggered.
Well, they go hand in hand, don't they? Especially with the new fluffy army, where I think it's almost compulsory.
It is. Yeah. I believe it is compulsory. Yeah. Which is good, actually, if you get captured. If you get captured by people from the Arab world, where we know, for example, that what happened to captured British soldiers when the Turks captured them. I mean, they got...
Did they?
Yeah, of course they did. People who got captured at Kut, I think, had a pretty grim time.
Okay.
So we'd have taken that in our stride.
we'd have taken it, right.
Yeah.
And apart from that, what do you think about the new fluffy army? The emotional army. I think it is so shit. Given time to pray and given emotional support.
Just in case anyone hasn't seen these are the new recruitment ads that have been put out by the department in the army responsible for recruitment.
I think they've farmed it out to one of these awful, probably common purpose trained organisations.
I think you're right.
I do smell the presence of common purpose.
Oh, that's a horrible phone
that's
you've got.
bad.
That's the worst phone. I can't
Take this a
believe it.
moment.
Okay. That was the nastiest, most evil phone sound I've ever heard.
Yeah, but at least you know it's going off.
Yeah, you do, but
And you're not going to ignore it.
But your phone didn't always. Did you buy a new phone?
We're always getting new phones. They die, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Right.
What were we talking about?
About the ghastly common purpose,
yes.
probably.
So I would
Army.
imagine that what happened is that the army civilianized its recruitment department, didn't it? But I think that they've given military ranks to the people, even though they're obviously not proper soldiers, because proper soldiers would not allow this shit to happen, I don't think.
I do hear some mumblings from friends on Twitter who are ex-army saying, "Well, I had lots of gay friends in the army." That's not the point, is it?
Is that they're trying to defend the recruitment on those grounds?
It did feel like
People
that.
don't think very
they didn't
clearly,
want
do
to
they?
ridicule it in the way that I wanted to.
Look, to be clear, there can be as many gays in the army as the army can fit. We know that there's an honourable... I've talked about this before. There's an honourable tradition of gay men. The 300 Spartans. They were all benders. I mean, that was the deal, wasn't it? About being a Spartan.
was their shtick.
That was their shtick. They took on the Persians and they held them at Thermopylae. Cool. The Sacred Band. The Sacred Band were these, I think they were Thebans,
right?
And they were the unit was comprised of an older man and a sort of his bum boy,
right?
And they looked after each other and they fought to the death. They fought for the love of one another. That's great. We love gays. That's fine. Some of my best friends, etc. But that is not the same as saying that these new recruitment ads for the army, which saying, yes, we will stop in the middle of the battle so that Muslims in our unit can pray. Yes.
Oh, no, it's not just Muslims, James. Anyone is allowed to stop and pray. They just happen to have focused on the Muslims' need to stop and pray.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because if you're a Christian, I'm sure they do the same thing.
You put out your prayer mat.
Or a Hindu, for instance.
So they civilianized the recruitment department and they put out these embarrassing adverts which make out that the army is not about killing people but about healing
or being
yourself.
The best. The main thing is they dropped the line, be the best.
Yeah.
They think it's a little bit judgmental.
And
isn't it?
elitist.
What about if you're not the best?
Yeah.
We still want you.
What if you're overweight?
We still want you.
Well, if not, they get into the German military easy.
Well, they don't have to fight, do they?
No,
not
they
anymore,
don't.
especially not at night.
Not anymore. No. So come the next war, we're not going to be the best. We're just going to have...
We're not just going to not be the best. We're going to be the smallest, the worst equipped, the softest. It's going to be pretty grim.
I tell you what worries me about all this, Dick.
What's that?
Is that if this were just a one-off thing, like the army is going to pot because it's been taken over by SJWs and it's lost its sense of its purpose, which is, after all, to defend the realm.
Yep. And where necessary, kill people.
And where necessary, pay the ultimate price. I mean, that ought to be the deal. Not we will not jeopardise your health and safety.
No.
Or your well-being generally.
Or hurt your feelings.
Or hurt your feelings because, my goodness, when that sort of thing happens to one institution, you can devote several podcasts to it and bang on about it. But it's happening to every institution there is in Britain and in America.
While the right was concentrating on keeping hold of government, the left grabbed every other institution possible. Yeah. And very successfully so. From education to health to anywhere they could get in. Yeah. And it's worked a treat, and all the chickens are coming home to roost right now.
Are we going to talk about Toby Young, or is that like...
It's probably too big a subject just to sort of, because it is part of the same thing.
Yes. Oh, there's so much to get angry about. Which in a way is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like being in Rome in maybe 350 AD.
Right, yeah.
Not BC, no, CE.
I wouldn't have even
you wouldn't
thought
even
to
know
go
what
there.
CE
No,
which
no,
is.
Hopefully our listener won't either.
CE should only stand for common entrance, which is the American listener. That's the entrance exam you sit to get into private schools.
Is it still?
What do you think? Just let them in
Does it
now?
exist anymore?
I bloody well hope so. Yeah.
So, it's the
Do you know
Toby
how we
Young
got here?
thing. Well,
Did we get here?
We did meander our way.
Did
here.
we get here from the Merkel game? Is that how we got?
This is why things like this work so well. And I noticed you did it with Dominic Frisby. You had an entire segment that was pure deviation. And yeah.
Do you think I need more discipline in my life?
No, I think this is the way this thing works.
This is the way
this
things
fine.
work. Look, I think we've come to the 20-minute segment.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll say is you're listening to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about Breitbart News' Second Amendment newsletter, Downrange with A.W.R. Hawkins. Features the top gun stories of the week, every week, and guest columnists like Gun Owners of America's Larry Pratt or Armed American Radio's Mark Walters. Also features a review of a firearm or a firearm accessory each week. The newsletter downloads on Thursday, comes right to your email inbox. You can subscribe at breitbart.com/AWR.
This is Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here once again is James Delingpole.
Welcome back to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole. Dick, we've got so much to talk about, and I'm really not sure what to do next.
You know what? I thought we could even roll a dice at some point, but that would involve having.
Have you read that book?
What?
The Dice Man by Luke Reinhardt.
It was a very much a thing for a while, wasn't it?
When you were doing your gap year,
Yeah.
or on your travels, were there not certain key books that everyone was reading? One was The Dice Man. Another was The Glass Bead Game by Hermann Hesse. Another was Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
That one I did read.
And then there was the magic realist one, 100 Years of Solitude.
Right.
I think I only read about one of them. No, I read two.
Right.
I read the Marquess and the motorcycle maintenance.
Right.
And I tell you, I'm no better now at motorcycle maintenance than I was before.
Yeah, but that was the whole thing about it. It wasn't about motorcycle maintenance.
it wasn't.
Yeah. So yeah, there will be no dice rolling because there's 4 choices basically.
Right.
Or
Have you
no,
not got
5.
Have you not got a special
There's
4-sided dice from Dungeons Dragons days? Do they have a 4-sided
How
dice?
would a 4-sided dice work?
I'm sure the ingenuity of the
Hang on,
developers
1,
of
2,
D&D.
3. It's a pyramid, isn't it? Of course it is.
That they had a pyramid die.
Yeah.
They did.
There
I
you
remember
go.
it. I can't remember what.
Anyway. Let's just play it this way.
Okay.
We're going to do the yes/no game.
Okay. Yes. No. Maybe.
Okay, so our listener already knows how this works, and
And the listener loves it.
the listener loves it. It's a list of names, and I've been writing down these names as they've cropped up in the news. So there is often a news story
I'm so excited.
attached to it. Okay, and all you have to do is say yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
But you've got to be right.
Yeah.
Okay.
How unlikely is it that I'm not going to be right?
Well, with this first name, it's quite self-evident. Nick Cave.
Yes.
Roger Waters.
No.
Thurston Moore.
What, from Sonic Youth? What's he done since Goo?
When I get to the end of this little
Okay,
bit, I will
okay.
explain why these
Okay.
names are relevant.
Okay. We'll come back to that one.
Thurston Moore. You can
Yeah.
hazard a yes
Yes.
or no.
Yes.
Stevie Wonder. Yeah, okay. This is going to be a mystery, and we'll need to talk a little bit. And Lauryn Hill. Okay, this was the BDS thing. You know, the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement for playing in Israel or not.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
oh no! Tell me what side they
Okay.
took.
Well, Nick Cave played Tel Aviv, and he refused to bow to the
We
SJW brigade, who were part of this BDS movement.
We love Israel. Oh.
And we are
I'd
big
play
fans.
Tel Aviv. I would so play Tel Aviv.
I would play Tel Aviv at
in
the
a
drop
blink
of
of an eye.
Big old floppy Stamford Hill hat.
Yep.
I would be up
Yep.
there. But Roger Waters, of course, is very tied up with this whole BDS movement.
And he was in the really shit end of Pink Floyd when it went. I mean, he became the kind of the leading light
He's
of
still
The
pretty
Wall.
awful. Yeah, yeah.
If Pink Floyd fans who like The Wall, It's like, what's the equivalent of that? It's like,
Well, there's fans who like Invisible Touch era Genesis.
yes, that's it. That's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other people in that list who you were fumbling around with, Thurston Moore, who doesn't like Sonic Youth? But he's now part of this whole BDS movement.
Okay.
And Stevie Wonder and Lauryn Hill were two people named as artists who caved on... No pun intended. On playing Tel Aviv, and they withdrew after pressure from the BDS movement. But Nick Cave wouldn't, and nor notably would Radiohead.
That's good. But no, hang on. Isn't one of them married to a
Exactly.
Palestinian?
No, an Israeli.
Israeli.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be less surprising then.
Yes, but they're not without their SJW edge, of course, as we know.
Or what?
But they had a perfectly sound reason saying, look, we'd rather work with them and get them to change in a positive way, and actually we're not going to listen to this pressure group, which is very much like the stop funding hate type nonsense. So, they didn't bow to the pressure. So, Nick Cave gets a resounding yes, quite apart from the fact that he is awesome in every way.
I think you're the same, and I know it's going to shock some part of this listener.
Right.
I've never liked Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, but that's possibly his worst thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Happy birthday. No, all his music's rubbish.
I like the stuff he did when he was Jamiroquai.
Oh. You know about my friend who died
Your friend
from
who died.
Jamiroquai.
Is that a disease?
No. There was a really lovely bloke called Toby.
Right.
Who used to write some of the music for Jamiroquai.
Okay.
And I met him later on in life when he'd retired to the country.
Okay.
And taken up fox hunting.
Oh my God.
And he was a lovely bloke.
Someone from that world
and he died of
would be
cancer.
a fox hunter.
Yes, but somebody else, somebody from the Prodigy also goes fox hunting.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
And there's me thinking that they're SJW through and through. I think a lot of them just keep their conservative life quiet, don't they?
You would.
You kind
Carry
of
on with the yes/no game. I interrupted with
so
my...
this is why this exists, because it is a deviation in its own right.
Yeah.
We've got Morrissey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except when he says silly things about Donald.
He will say silly things,
silly things.
but on the whole, he winds up enough of our enemies to be a resounding yes.
He does.
And we love his music and always have done.
The NME always used to have a very tortured relationship with Morrissey, even in the days before it went full cuck. I mean, now I think it's just absolutely rampantly, stupidly PC. It doesn't even exist. It only exists online.
Yes, it does.
Online.
No, I think it still does.
It's a free sheet.
I think it is free, isn't it?
I think it is a free sheet. But even in its glory days, it was very tortured about Morrissey when he started draping himself in the Union flag.
Like
they
that.
didn't like it. It was nationalistic. Ooh, that's horrid, isn't it?
Yeah. Pride in your country.
Yeah.
Ooh, disgusting.
Yeah.
So Morrissey is a resounding yes.
Yes.
And I'm glad you got that right. Harrison Ford.
I think he said something stupid recently, didn't he?
I think I had him down as actually saying something rather good.
Maybe he did.
It's an old list, and I think he was a yes.
I interviewed him once.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How would that go?
There were lots of pauses between the questions.
He's one who actually thinks of his answers.
I think it's because he's a stoner.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's a stoner. And
Nice.
so
Are you even allowed to say that?
So there were condor moments.
Are you meant to say allegedly?
He was there
allegedly.
allegedly.
I'm very aware of this whole sort of
this whole new world
treading on eggshells.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I put in Cosmo Sheldrake here.
Listen, Dick,
I think we are.
Thank you for.
We are responsible for launching Cosmo Sheldrake's career, because I've had a lot of people coming back to me on Twitter saying thank you for the connection. He's awesome, and
wasn't it great?
Yeah.
So thank you. What's the track title called?
Come Along.
People should Google that.
Yeah, I'm off to see him play in Bristol later in the year.
You're not.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's going to be.
What's
great.
his other stuff like?
mixed. He's very much a muso. He's heavily multi-instrumental. He
Right.
pretty much plays all his stuff. He went to New York to study under Bobby McFerrin. You know, that guy. Yeah.
I know the one exactly what
So
you
he
mean.
can do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And even though I haven't studied under Bobby McFerrin,
You'd
I
never
can
guess
do
it.
No, you wouldn't know, would you?
No.
I'm self-taught.
That's extraordinary.
I know.
Yeah.
Gary Lineker.
Don't you mean J.K. Lineker?
Lineker. All of them is a no.
No,
Yeah,
all of them
okay.
is a no.
All of them is a no.
All of them is a no.
Right. Bono.
No, I mean that is not even. That's not
No,
even.
well, you know, they're just there.
Is there a more negative word than no?
Bono.
Bono. Yes.
I don't know why I put him in, but Michael Palin. Again, he would have been in the news for doing something.
This is just like this just is an object lesson in why not to delay our podcast.
Yeah.
Because look what's happened now.
We don't know whether
We don't
Michael
know where
Palin
we
is a
are.
yes or a no.
We don't.
Every ounce of me wants to say yes because I love him, but I think he might have said
think he
something
might- he
horribly
might well have done.
SJW.
Yeah.
So,
They will do.
well, you can tell how old this list is. I've gone Meghan Markle and Angela Merkel. So I was obviously
No.
thinking up the Markle-Merkel
No.
game then. Okay, no. Alexander Meerkat.
I quite like those meerkats.
I quite like the
Yes,
Meerkats.
Yes.
Yeah. Billy Corgan
Billy Corgan
from...
Smashing Pumpkins.
Of course.
I listen to those albums occasionally,
Hmm.
or snippets of those albums, and I'm reminded I really liked Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. I
All
like
this
that,
stuff's got-
that epic whininess.
Yeah.
Really good.
Not just that, but he is a full-on conspiracy theorist.
Is that like a good thing?
Yes, because it means he's
Which conspiracy?
rejected. Well, you name it, he'll go for it. But he is.
He's a birther and a truther.
I don't know about the birther truther bit, but the fact that he winds up the SJWs.
questions
I
the-
think that's
Oh.
the key to it, isn't it?
Do you think there is an opposition between conspiracy theorists and SJWs?
Yes, I do.
I think they're both in parallel universes that aren't quite our own.
The thing is, a lot of what we believe in is written off as conspiracy theorists. I mean, the global warming scan. I know it's only our worst detractors who will say, "Oh yeah, it's all a big conspiracy theory, is it?" You can't write off the conspiracy theorists because for every
Right.
chemtrailer there is a climate change so-called denialist.
I think we can accept that this might be an alliance of convenience, like with Stalin.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, in order to defeat Hitler,
Yeah.
i.e. the SJWs,
Yeah.
we have to.
My
take our
enemy's
alliances.
enemy is my friend,
Yeah,
sort of
okay,
thing.
So I accept
Yeah,
that.
okay. But yeah, Billy Corgan, I think he kind of went off the rails, so-called, went full conspiracy theorist. I think he's back on now, but an interesting chap, both in his music and his views. James Woods.
James Woods.
Is he not one of the most awesome
He's
people
awesome.
on Twitter?
How can I get him on the podcast? That would
I
be
think
good,
you'd
wouldn't
probably
it?
have to go to him.
No, I would go to him.
Yeah.
James Woods, I would go to
Drop
you.
everything
But he doesn't
and-
even follow me on Twitter.
No. James, this is a plea to you.
Baby steps.
Mr. Woods.
We do.
We
we
have
do.
so much respect for
Paul
you.
Joseph Watson first, then we get James
The
Woods.
Woods.
The
Yeah.
Woods.
Into the woods.
Into the woods.
That would be great. Last two names here. Robert Webb.
Oh dear.
Oh.
That's not even a no, is it? It's
It's
more
a
sort of
a sad shake of the
it's
head.
a sad shake of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tricky one here, Xander Armstrong.
Oh yes.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
But
No.
he's kind of...
No.
No?
No.
Is
Look,
there a resounding yes?
He has to wear.
Toe the line.
He has to camouflage himself.
Right.
Sometimes. I met Xander at
Mm-hmm.
a party, and he knew everything about me because he reads all my stuff. And
Okay.
Thinks I'm bloody great. And frankly, if you think I'm great, then you're probably great too.
Well, you're a
It seems
yes
to
for
be.
a
Yeah,
start, aren't you?
you're a
No,
yes.
that does fill me with a certain amount of hope, knowing that there's people out there who actually, given the chance to express themselves without ruining their career, might be on our side.
Yes, there probably are. There probably are. In fact, I've got one lined up.
if someone from the Prodigy can go fox hunting, then there's hope.
Yeah, exactly. So is that the end of the yes/no game?
That's the end of the yes/no game. You pretty much passed with flying colours. It was just that little tricksy bit at the beginning with the BDS thing, but it got us onto that.
But we didn't.
Got us onto that subject.
I'm not. I can't. Do you know what, Dick? Even though I'm very knowledgeable and very right,
You can't read my mind.
It's really exhausting sometimes just keeping up with the totality of reality.
Yeah.
It just is.
Oh look, the dogs are back. My lovely
You're terrifying.
lurchers.
Oh my god! Don't let them bite me.
They love you, and I think
If love is expressed through the medium of sort of farting and biting and making horrible howling noises and sort of what's the horrible trick that they do?
they bite your ears
Yeah, and just they sort
when
of
you're doing your
they just
laces up. I think
randomly.
that's sweet.
Don't know what it is
they're
about your
lovely,
animals,
and
Dick.
they're wonderful.
Mind you, our particular revolting hound did eat the cat's poo today and then vomited it up on our office floor. So I
That
suppose
is
it's-
completely charming.
yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, I bet your dogs would do that as well.
Given
They
half
might-
the chance, yeah.
you know what? They'd do that, and then they'd bite you. So you'd probably get the cat poo on their evil fangs,
Yeah.
penetrating your skin,
Yeah.
giving you whatever foul disease cat poo carries, which I think is quite a lot, and you'd die. So that's the difference between your dogs and my dogs. My dog would just annoy you. Yours would kill you.
Look, she's nuzzling
Yeah, I
you.
know.
She wants it
With-
to.
And their sharp, pointy snouts, like sharks. They've got shark snouts. Yes. It's licking me at the moment.
Do we still have a few minutes left of this section?
We do.
Well, I want to talk briefly, and it's been playing on my mind for a while. The whole
Praying.
the whole
Playing, yeah.
playing,
Playing.
not praying. Yeah,
Okay.
playing on my mind.
Okay.
The clothing issue.
Oh, yeah.
What we wear as 50-something men.
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
noticed you still wear jeans.
I totally do.
Now, I've seen a lot of arguments to say that past 50 you really shouldn't.
Yes, people who are insecure and slightly stupid
Yeah.
do cling to truisms that they've heard somebody else say or read on the internet, like blue and green should ne'er be seen,
Which
or
is bollocks.
or Bitcoin is a bubble just like the tulip bubble. They say, as if that's
Yeah,
an
it goes
original
out
analogy.
every time anyone mentions
or
Bitcoin.
or they'll say, yes, any man over 50 still wearing jeans looks ridiculous. Well, look, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, how old's Nick Cave, for example?
Oh, he's older than us.
Well, do you think Nick Cave wears jeans or not? Do you think?
I should imagine he can wear leather trousers and
Do you
still get
think
away
Mick
with it.
Jagger wears jeans?
Yeah, I should imagine.
Yeah, and do you think Mick Jagger looks a dick? Do you think he doesn't pull any young girls?
No, well, this is all very true. This is why I wanted to talk about it.
Do you think the
I
guy in
wanted
charge of
to put
UKIP
this
wears
to-
jeans?
Who's that?
The
one who's
with 25-year-old.
shagging the
Fair play.
Or not any? Well,
Fair
yeah.
play. I mean, yeah. So you do you not wear jeans?
Well, I wear black jeans. I pretty much always have done. I have a problem. I struggle with blue, but I have started wearing a lot of tweed. I really like it, and I even bought one of those checked shirts the other day.
Talking of which, tweed.
Yeah.
The guy who played Jason King, who's just died,
Right.
Peter Wingard. Have you seen him in his Jason King outfit
Yeah.
with his moustache and
Yeah, yeah,
sideburns,
yeah.
and he's wearing a lovely tweedy 70s take on the tweed suit.
Right.
Sorry,
But this whole dressing like an old man, which effectively is what wearing tweed is.
yes.
How does it happen? When does it happen? Why does it happen?
One of the reasons I wear tweed, there's several reasons. One, because the tweed jacket I have is my hacking jacket, so I wore it when I used to go cubbing. And partly I wear it as a kind of statement of defiance. I'm not a bloody townie. I'm a country person now, and I like wearing it into town to show that I'm not one of them.
Right.
You know, I don't belong to this ghastly kind of Blade Runner scenario that London's become.
So there is
I'm an
this.
outsider.
There is a conscious thing in the whole the wardrobe choice. It's kind of like I get the impression that we both dress fairly sort of like whatever's on the floor. That
There was a bit of
morning.
that. I look on the way here. I got told off by the wife for there's a zip up I wear. It's one of those fleeces, and I bought it when I was going to go to the Arctic. When I went to Svalbard to go looking for polar bears.
Yeah.
I went.
But of course, they'd all died out.
Yeah, they'd all died out. I went to the Arctic shop or similar, and I
Arctic
bought this.
or
I
us.
bought this zip up,
Yeah.
and I like wearing it because you can get kind of dog biscuits in the pocket and leave them, or dog sausages and leave them to rot for months, and you don't have to look after it in any way at all, and it keeps you warm, but it looks really shit. And I think there is an argument, which I think you're kind of making, which is that as one gets older, there is definitely more pressure on one to make an effort with one's dress so that one doesn't look completely...
While at the same time, the other drive is towards something that's comfortable and practical.
Yeah, it's hard.
Which is why I pretty much live in my barber living out here. And again, you know that the poo bags and the dog biscuits are already going to be in a pocket because they've been in there for months.
I think actually a very, very sturdy tweed suit could almost be the answer to that. I mean, almost a Donegal tweed, although it would be very uncomfortable, it'd probably be very scratchy. But my problem with suits is that they need looking after. When you go to bed, you have to fold up your sodding trousers, and I hate the way that they slide off the wooden.
Yeah, and you have to get the balance just right.
How do regular suit wearers deal with this thing? Because I don't like the time that I spend doing that. I don't like hanging up my jacket. I don't like having to remove all the items.
Whereas a
from the
tweed
inside
jacket will survive any.
It would look better the more battered it is. Yeah. But then you've got summer.
But if you want to go for that Kingsman look,
yes,
the sharp but unusually cut suit, the one that you very nearly became proud owner of.
Yes.
I
would have done if Kingsman 2 had grossed $500 million, I would have got a free item of clothing from the Kingsman shop. That's what the director promised me, but
didn't quite make it.
It didn't. It's only made 420, I think, which is a sod.
Yeah.
It was very embarrassing when I emailed him, thinking that he'd already made 500 million. I said, all right, so can I have this lovely coat, cashmere coat? And he said, I'd love to. I'd love you to be right, but
shame.
That is a real bummer.
So anyway, your dressing is a very conscious thing. When you go on TV, just to finish off this segment.
No,
what's your thinking behind the whole?
I need a new suit. Number one, all my suits are throwbacks to the era of when I was the Times men's fashion writer.
Right.
And I used to get all sorts of wonderful suits made for me, including my Timothy Everest suit, which I still wear. And it's nice, but it's got a bit wrinkled because I wore it I got caught out in the rain once, and so my suits are looking a bit battered, and the cut is not as sharp as it would be if I got one now. Mm-hmm. So I really need a TV suit. By the way, when this goes out, when people are listening to this, that evening, tonight, if you're listening to this on Thursday, I'm going to be on sodding Question Time.
Oh, no.
Oh, I hate doing Question Time so much. And the only reason I do it is because almost not doing it is almost just slightly worse than doing it. I don't know why.
Doesn't a lot of it depend on who they've put up with you? Whether you are... Well, you're inevitably going to be the right-wing nutcase scapegoat. Well, all is
Can
lost.
You imagine
Abandon
them
all
loving
hope.
me in Scotland?
They're going to fly you up there.
Or train me up there. I don't know. God. It's just it's so depressing. I can't do it. Look, I like Scotland. I like the kind of Scots who like, well, James Boswell. James Boswell, what a hero. Boswell and Johnson. That's the relationship Scotland should have with England. It's a good one.
Yeah,
happy. We're better together than we are hating each other. I think that's my view. And I don't mind being quoted on that if that should it arise from the audience. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yes, clothes. So yeah, I do need some new outfits. I really do. And actually, do you know what? I would even, if somebody wants to make me a new suit, I will talk about it on the podcast. But
that's very generous of you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I have to put up with actually having to run everything past the missus.
Well, they're in charge.
They are in charge, but I would make appalling fashion decisions if I didn't bring her into the shop and say, "What do you think of those?" And she'd wrinkle her nose and go, "Really?"
They're good at that.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that women are really, quite a lot of stuff that women are really, really good at. One of them is telling you what looks shit.
I wanted to buy some linen trousers in the summer.
Because I get this treatment. Tell me, come
and I'd found some in Marks and Spencer's actually, and I dragged Lydia in there to show her. I said, "This is what I had in mind."
Can I say Marks and Spencer's linen trousers, Dick?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you might as well have bought yourself some incontinence pads and a Zimmer frame, frankly.
And a pair of hush puppies.
Really, at that point.
I know. Okay, so I'm not proud of this.
No. I mean, if you said I'd gone into Martin Margiela or something.
Listen, I live in Worcester.
Yeah.
I wanted something comfortable and light.
You want
and
slacks,
baggy.
don't you? You want
I don't want
slacks. You want Farah golfing trousers.
I shouldn't have even opened up this topic.
Yeah, well, can I say?
I was going to buy this stone colour, and she said it's okay, but go for the navy if you must. And I bought these navy ones. Yeah, they're comfortable.
Do you wear them?
Well, it's not now. It's not the summer anymore.
Are they comfy? Are they? That's. This could be the saddest conversation. The saddest.
Is there any way we can delete it?
No, it's not. It's done now. It's done. We've said it. You said it. We've damned ourselves, and all the kind of
you could have
yeah.
let it pass. You couldn't have necessarily drawn attention to it.
The young hip listener is listening to this, and she is not going to even think about shagging us anymore.
No, well, that's my marriage saved.
He is going to stop looking up to us as role models.
Yeah.
So look what you've done, you bastard.
I might get a gift voucher from Marks and Spencer's.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You're listening to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole.
SiriusXM Patriot presents a brand new conservative show.
I'm Sunny Johnson. Check out my new show, Sunny's Corner. We take a lot of our context out of the conservative movement as a whole.
Mixing conservative principles and hip-hop culture.
We are created equal, yes, but created equal doesn't mean equal results, because I can't flow like Jay-Z doesn't make it Jay-Z's fault.
Sunny's Corner.
Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on SiriusXM Patriot 125.
This is Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here once again is James Delingpole.
Welcome back to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole. Dick, we haven't done the bit where we go through the previous podcasts.
The review section.
The review section.
Well, here in my special notebook, I've got them all laid out.
Good.
Now, the end of the last podcast together, you gave me a bit of a teaser as to who your next guest was. Remember that? You said, my next guest, I'll give you a clue, Tormund Nebbit.
That's clever, wasn't it?
It was.
Did anyone got it?
And I was momentarily nonplussed, and I couldn't get it. It was ridiculous. I had a complete blank just for a few seconds. But anyway, your Norman Tebbit podcast was awesome. What a guy. What a hero.
It was one of those things where I let him do the talking. I wasn't going to.
And everyone appreciated that.
I think. I wasn't going to be the cheeky chappy, sort of skipping around and confusing the old boy.
No. But he's still sound as a pound.
Oh, he's totally all there.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been diluted.
No.
In any way.
Completely unapologetic. I mean, some of the things he was saying about his colleagues in Parliament, you think, wow, can he say that? Of course he can say that. He's Norman Tebbit.
Yeah.
So that was great. Working back from him, there's a chap called Malcolm Delingpole. Do you remember him? No?
Although, the surname rings a vague bell.
He proved very popular. There was a good reaction to him.
Wasn't it sweet? Everyone took to our old dad and thought but he has that effect on people. Only his wives don't like him. Only his wives think he's
I don't know. I think they've got a soft spot for him.
They've got a sort of a bog in the west of Ireland. Yeah. But yeah, they he does have that effect on people.
No, and it reminded me, like I needed reminding, what an amazing life he's had. I know it's not over yet, as I pointed out earlier. He's in the prime of his life.
Do you know what would have improved it slightly?
What?
If instead of being in Hong Kong, in the 50s.
He saw a bit of action in Nam
in the Korean War. If his unit had been surrounded by the Chinese, I mean, if Michael Caine had been our dad, we'd been able to say that.
Yeah,
Michael Caine's unit was surrounded by the
Chinese.
But
he's now regularly meeting with the RAF chaps he served in Hong Kong,
and that's really sweet.
And it's an interesting aspect of the Cold War that we had chaps up on top of a mountain in Hong Kong listening to
one of them being
Chinese fighter pilots.
Ni hao.
Yeah, we had a childhood of going to Chinese restaurants in Birmingham where he would start talking to the waiters in Mandarin,
but they spoke Cantonese because they all came from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And we used to die of embarrassment every time. It was almost not worth having your dinner paid for, not having your Peking just to avoid having your dad try and converse with Chinese waiters. But there we are.
But he's and there's all the lizard collection stuff.
Collections.
So much.
We know
stuff
so much
having...
more about lizards than your average people. Sometimes all these people who've gone to UEA with their worthless ecology degrees or whatever, and they think they know about lizards. They don't know shit about lizards.
They didn't do a 5-mile pedalo journey out to an island that inhabited purely by black lizards.
The melanistic form of Lacerta, one of the wall lizards anyway.
But yeah, we've had a pretty amazing.
I bet we know more about lizards than George Monbiot does, and he's got a degree in zoology allegedly.
In fish.
Yeah, exactly. So he knows about fish.
Fish expert. Yeah, George Monbiot.
Fish. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, he was good, the old man, and I think he quite enjoyed.
I think he did. He was very nervous, and he was almost sort of bristling. He was almost like almost made it difficult.
A little bit defensive.
That's the word I'm looking for. But then he relaxed, and it was all fine.
It was good. Before that, Rupert Darwell with his book Green Tyranny. What was it? His book. It's a Green Tyranny expose.
It's basically about how the Greens were all
Europe's
Nazis.
First Greens were the Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. It's well worth reading that book. Yeah.
Before that, you had a double whammy in successive weeks from your trip to Ireland. You had Kevin Myers and you had Gareth Soy.
Yes.
Now, Gareth had been a long-standing friend of ours on Twitter.
Yeah.
He was another one who was a little bit nervous about the whole thing, but he was brilliant.
No, he was very good. Although our relationship has been fatally poisoned by the fact that we all went out for dinner to the best, literally the best curry house in Dublin. It really is the best. I mean, it ought to have Michelin stars. Maybe it does. It's really, really good. And my Revolut card, it didn't have enough money on it because the money I'd put on it hadn't gone through. And so he had to fork out €50 towards... I mean, actually, it was, I still paid a chunk of his, but I did not pay for all his dinner.
Pretty poor.
And he looked after me very well. And he's almost like it's become the defining quality of his life now. All he can think about, he's eaten up with it, is about how I didn't pay the €50. And he's got mental health issues, as you would discuss on the programme, but now, I think this is going to drive him over the edge, and I feel very sorry that I'm going to have his death on my hands.
It's that curry that did it.
But there it is. So, tough luck, Gareth.
Kevin Myers, who has been through the mill in quite a ghastly way.
Poor Kevin.
I mean, if ever there was a cautionary tale about becoming the victim of SJWs, he is it.
It's very odd that we live in a world where you can be a champion of Israel and all its values, the sort of the free market principles, the freedom of speech, all the things that Israel pretty much embodies. I mean, under tremendous pressure, and yet one slightly incautious sentence in a newspaper column that you probably dashed off quite quickly can be seized on by the left and used against you as proof that you're an anti-Semite. And it's weird, particularly that the SJWs play this game, because the SJWs are very anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
The left is really...
The
left
Labour
hates
Party
Jews.
utterly riddled with it.
Yeah.
And they know it's a problem, and yet they're the ones accusing us of it.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah. So it's a sad podcast worth listening to see how vulnerable we all are.
But it's good that you're standing by the sort of people who others are distancing themselves from in case they get tainted by them.
It's true. I think not many people have spoken up for Kevin Myers. I mean, Douglas Murray has. Who else? Ruth Dudley Edwards, who's got to go on a podcast one day because she's great. But not many people. It's like no one wants to be associated with the leper. Once somebody gets tainted, that's it.
And that's how they'll get us, one by one.
They will.
Which is how the whole Twitter purge will work. We don't need to cover that in great detail, but we will lose those on the right one by one.
Who wrote that piece? I think a few people wrote this very sensible piece about the Toby Young affair, which is that Rod Liddell,
right,
about wank puffins. He said that there are all these wank puffins out there, and they're a tiny minority. I mean, The Guardian, I think he said, is read by 100,000 people. That's 0.1% of the population. I don't know whether he's exactly
I read
right,
the piece, yeah.
But yes, those who didn't read it, it's well worth looking up. He pointed out this tiny minority which punches up above its weight by being so shrill and vocal and signing up to every petition going on 350org and change.org. And these people, they swarmed on Toby. And that's fine. Swarming is what they do, point and shriek, as Vox Day tells us. But the people really to blame are the conservative institutions that play the enemy's game. That particularly obscure Quango that he was applying for a job on. I mean, a minor league, nothing.
A minor
Quango.
role in a minor league.
Role in a minor. He's going to be one of 15, and the other 15 are all going to be kind of
the usual suspects,
politically correct apparatchiks. So, what this committee should have said, Toby Young's tweets are neither here nor there. He's put in the groundwork. He's put in the legwork. He's done all sorts of good work for education. He's done these free schools. He knows his stuff. He'd be a valuable contribution and a valuable contrast to all the other people. They should have said that, and they didn't. Every time they cave. Every time. And
another one is Theresa May on Trump retweeting the Britain First thing. It was she actually tried to admonish him for it. Madness.
It is extraordinary. Which do you think would be more important? Trump giving a slightly edgy tweet, or the trading relationship and political relations between Britain and the US? I just call me old-fashioned, but I think the relationship between Britain and the US is kind of more important.
And don't even start on Sadiq Khan. The damage that he is doing to what remains of a vaguely special relationship between us and the US.
This is why I say that the offshore wind farm, which ruins the view of Brighton, is God's punishment on Brighton for being so green. They'll never be able to look out to sea and see an empty horizon. They're just going to see this shit wind farm. In the same way, I think Sadiq Khan is London's punishment for being so PC.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say they deserve all these acid attacks, which is really sad and
all happening in our old manor as well. I mean, all around Hackney where we used to live. And I love the place. When we went back recently, I have very fond memories of Hackney. But all the names that are mentioned when Haggerston and Bethnal Green, it's all where this acid stuff is happening. I'd hate to be there now, and for my kids to be growing up there now.
London has become like New York in the 1970s. It's become it's been abandoned.
Well, it needs a broken windows type mayor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it certainly hasn't got that at the moment.
No, it hasn't.
Anyway, this is all moving on from Kevin Myers. Before that, you had your old mucker, Professor Ian Plimer.
Yes. Have you got a biscuit or something? I'm starting to flag. Yeah.
Hypoglycemic.
Yeah. That's better. Because magically in that space, even though it was, I managed to compress it to 0 seconds, I managed to
demolish a couple of little Stroop waffles.
Yeah, I had some Stroop waffles. Yeah, I get those. I had one last time I did any question time. I got it. I hadn't got And it suddenly gets me, and you
Well, as long as you know it's happening now, and you can, you can hit it.
But what I really need is a bag of nuts. So that's I find best. Anyway,
so I was just saying we were up to the last few here. Professor Ian Plimer was.
He's an old mate. He's great, isn't he?
He's fantastic.
He's so fluent, and he's so got the greenies.
Well, I would say mention in the same breath as your other recent guest, Tony Heller, who he gives good podcast. He's such a mellow voice. He seems so laid back and relaxed. You wouldn't. He seems unflappable. Someone who would have a lot of flap thrown at him.
No one sticks it to the enemy quite so effectively, I think, as Tony Heller. And because I obviously in the climate wars, I've made friends with lots of scientists and bloggers and writers and things sticking up for, sound science.
Science deniers, more like.
Science deniers, yeah, exactly. And the thing about Tony Heller is he says, no, it's not just it's not a measured debate about the degree to which CO2 contributes to anthropogenic global warming. This is fraud that's going on here, and he backs it up with the charts. He shows that NOAA is committing fraud. He shows that NASA is committing fraud, and respect, because a lot of people don't like to be that out there and that up front.
Well, it's your approach, isn't it? The no prisoners approach.
No, exactly.
So
slaughter the baggage.
It's great that you continue to have these people around as friends and podcast guests, because you're putting it out to a wider audience. Sir James Macmillan, he was unusual. He really different, but I think the podcast does well for having
Didn't that just make the podcast like the Christmas podcast special?
Yeah, it was very highbrow.
He's he's a serious composer.
Yeah.
It's like getting somebody. Well, he's a serious composer.
But even if you know very little about classical music, it was an enjoyable session. Yeah. And you had Thor, who came all the way down through the snow.
He came
from
down
the frozen north,
like a lightning bolt.
Yeah,
he did. He did.
Like a white walker.
Like a white walker. Yeah, he did.
From the
north, and revealed an extraordinary thing that he's not even Scottish.
No. But interesting how he came to be up there, hippie parents, and the name that would help him blend in with the locals.
Thor is one of a range of real people that I'm going to be having on the podcast, and that's not just because I'm desperate, scraping the bottom of the barrel because I've run out of, because there's only one composer I can
rocking
find.
Up to Worcester to interview your brother.
Dick, I just want to read you that.
Go on, reassure me that I'm not just the
message
the
I
barrel
got the other day. It said, in fact, only today I got this message. I'll read it out to you when my phone will load it. Sorry, what else were we saying?
Well, we're up to date now with your guests. Thor being at the time of this.
No, I'm gonna have a few more real people on this on the podcast, because it eats up material, this podcast, and B, actually real people can talk really interestingly.
But we've got a lot of good real people out there who we converse regularly with on Twitter, and I know that detractors will say, well, they're not real friends, but I've met a bunch of them in the pub, and it is as if you're carrying on a conversation.
Let me read out
on Twitter.
the end bit of this. I'm going to bleep out the names because otherwise, this is from a young mid-20s PhD maths student. Working class, fan of the podcast. He says, please continue your podcast. Perhaps more frequency is in order, yes. Or other guests like Bleep, brackets, maybe a bit of a prick, question mark. Bleep, brackets, though slightly too full of himself, question mark. Professor Jordan Peterson, perhaps asking too much. By the way, I did try and put in a bid to get Jordan Peterson on the podcast with his publicist from Penguin, I think, and I didn't get a reply for a while, but then eventually I did get one, and she apologised and said that he was very busy and perhaps next time. And I said, well, can you please remind me of next time? I bet she won't. But
it would be a great
it would
podcast.
be a great moment.
But I'd like to think he's very busy now.
It would be. I'd say it would be between Paul Joseph Watson and James Woods would be the the top. By the way, can I ask, because I just don't know, I'd like to know who listens to this podcast, how many people. I'm not privy to this information, and one way of contacting me is through the website where I put all the old podcasts are archived, and people do communicate with me, and I like the messages they send, and it's really interesting, and it's delingpoleworld.com. So go to Delingpole World, because I'm planning things for the future. I'm planning things like Club Delingpole. Guess what that is? Yeah.
Is it like Club Penguin?
It's like Club Penguin, but without any penguins, but with similar fun and games.
It would be nice if the avatars were polar bears.
And what were they? Do you remember those furry creatures that you could collect when you had Club Penguin? Did you ever do Club Penguin?
Not personally, obviously. The kids did Club Penguin.
Yeah, but I used to do it with the kids.
Right.
Yeah, not
you
in
had
a nice
a penguin
way.
of your own.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, if I was going to pay the fee.
You know, in Four Lions, the film, the jihadists communicate through Club Penguin.
Do they?
Well, except it's called Party Puffin. And that's how they communicate with each other. It's stroke of genius.
That is good. You've got to go and do your photo shoot.
I've got to do some
for what is it, Attitude magazine, and you.
It's for the local Colombian.
Aren't you modelling
cafe.
thongs? and you've got the moustache for that, and I respect you for that.
Yeah,
it's really good. You're rocking
my
that
Jason King,
the
moustache.
late Jason King look. Well, that's it. You're listening to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole. Some other time. Bye.